Hello everybody out in YouTube land. This is the Junk Man. Welcome back to my channel. And you know, this is kind of going to be a more impromptu video. I just had the idea thinking, you know what, I wonder if people would like to see what it's like for me to get one of my bikes out for the first time for the season. And that's what I'm going to do back here. The weather's finally become a bit agreeable, so I can start riding this particular bike daily, my commuter. And I haven't been riding it commuting because it's been either rainy or just not agreeable for riding into my day job. Obviously, I've told you this time and time again, I don't do YouTube full time. I have a regular job. So anyway, and I have to kind of dress up for it. So, you know, I can't ride in with all my leathers and such and rain gear. And I don't prefer to ride in the rain. Call me a fair weather rider, whatever, judge me. But anyway, I'm going to show you what it's going to take to get this bike out, and let's go through it so I can start riding it. Alright, quickly got it out of its little hidey hole. And you know, this is a bike that I haven't really talked about much. It's my 2005 Buell XB9SX, the CityX. It's of the Lightning generation of bikes. You know, if you're not familiar with Buell, there's a whole history out there about it. I may talk a little bit while I work here, but it's defunct 2009. They went out of business. Harley sold them off. You know, a little bit controversial, but anyway, this is my main commuter bike. I've maybe posted some pictures on some social media in the past, but I've never done a proper video on this. So while I go through this bike to get it up in running, just check it out, to start riding it, I thought I'd talk about it. So let's do that. Okay, just move the bike around so you can see it a little bit better. I'm just going to be doing some things like, you know, checking my air pressure. Got the seat off because the battery's under there and I have a tender on it. I'll probably just test it, make sure it's fully charged, but it should be. Just check some other things out. I always change the oil in this particular bike at the end of the season so I know it's ready to go. But I'll still check it, make sure. I mean, there was no oil spots. This isn't a leaker like a typical Harley, so I don't have to really worry about that. But it's just a good habit to be in. So, but anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about the bike here. Oh, good. Got my cat Anna out here helping me out. I don't normally let her out here while I'm doing that, but rear tire's good. But anyway, as you can see, you know, of course, bike technology has surpassed this since, you know, 2005. And basically, this is a design that started in, I want to say 99. Don't quote me on that. Or, well, generally speaking, 99. I mean, maybe 98. Because this is after the tube frame Buells. But bought this bike brand new in 2005. And I've had it ever since, and I gotta say, this has been I'll use the term reliable, but it's been the most reliable, but I should say what I mean is the least finicky bike I've ever owned. And you know, I have a lot of bikes, so that's saying a lot. And what I mean by that is I don't have to do much, or haven't ever had to do much to this bike to keep it on the road. And you know, it just starts and it just runs. I mean, obviously I do some good preventative stuff, like obviously oil changes, fuel stabilizer in the tank, and regular air filter cleanings, and just, you know, general, you know, wear item stuff. But after that, no real adjustments. I might go through, why don't I do that? let's go through some of the unique things about this bike. If you've never seen a Buell, never heard of them, or never really studied them. Some of you out there do know. But let's just start what makes this bike, and even then made it kind of unique. Probably the biggest thing you're noticing outside everything is this braking setup's a little odd. The brake rotor is almost the size of the rim, and it's mounted to the outside of the rim, and the caliper is mounted inboard versus the other way around. According to Eric Buell and the marketing department, says that when the brake pads squeeze this, it wants to deflect a typical rotor, which is attached to your hub, and it can deflect the whole wheel. Well, this way it's mounted and everything gives it more rigidity, so you get better braking. And this is more brake than this bike needs, given how lightweight, relatively speaking, this bike is. It's 6-piston caliper up here. It's branded Buell, but I think it's made by Brembo for that, or maybe Nissan. I don't know. I'd have to look into that. Let's see. I forget off the top of my head. Let's see. This is a 17 in the front right. And for all you guys are gonna wonder, what tires am I using on it? Came with I believe Bridgestones, like the Battle Axe or something. These are Shinkos, and people are going to judge me on that, but this is my second set of these. I love them for what I use this bike for. This is not a track bike. I don't go to the track. I blast up the canyon into the mountains and such. Sticky enough for that, but great value price tire. Lasts a long time, and pretty decent performance in wet and dry. Obviously, they're a all-around tire. They're more of a dry tire, not a wet tire. But anyway, like them. Another thing you're going to notice, well, let's start from the front to the back. I'll probably have to come back to things, is obviously exhaust. Exhaust comes out, muffler down here. Now, of course, this is an aftermarket muffler. The stock muffler would have been a little bit larger can, and it's actually mounted, so it's a jacking point to lift this bike up because there's no center stand. This one is not. It's a lighter weight aluminum can. It's a Hardin RT1. It's the only aftermarket muffler that's made. I put this on shortly after I bought it, like everybody does. Kind of wished I wouldn't have gotten rid of the stalker just for original appearances. But it does, without making it too much louder, because I'm not about loud bikes, but it does flow a lot better. I can tell it cleaned it up a little bit, along with a little fuel injection kind of programmer. This is kind of a very dumb EFI system. It is electronically fuel injected. It's not carbureted. That's part of what I liked about it. Part about why I bought it originally. There's other reasons for that. But let's move along here. Obviously, you see this big old idler. It's a belt drive. This belt runs over this idler. There's pulley in here. Belt driven. Nice positive engagement. Eliminates that slacking of the chain with typical chain driven bikes. Very quiet. Very reliable. This is actually the original belt, but I'm probably getting time to want to change this. It hasn't broken. It doesn't show anywhere, but it's old, so I may have a video on that when I get around to wanting to attempt to replace this belt. It's not that hard, actually. Buell made it pretty nice and easy. Made this part of the swing arm separated so you can get the belt off without taking the swing arm off, and same with and you can get it by here and get it out. Get the belt off without taking the swing arm, unlike a lot of other belt-driven bikes where you have to disassemble it, take the whole swing arm off the back. But it also makes changing gear ratios, different. You'd have to buy pulleys. It's kind of expensive, and then different size of belts because obviously there's no adjuster. This is not spring-loaded. It's a set, tension. So no adjustments here. That's something in a commuter bike I just want to go. It's something. My other bikes I don't mind fiddling. That's the one thing I like about it. Another thing, move back up here. Obviously, there is supposed to be a plastic like chin spoiler. I just took it off because it's kind of in the way for oil changes and other things, and it just collects road debris and dirt. I have it. I didn't get rid of it. I just don't put it on there. So there should be kind of a chin spoiler that sort of covers this up, makes it look a little nicer. What I also like is a modern, almost like automotive style filter. I know Harleys are kind of known for that. Easy oil changes, spin it on, spin it off. Makes that easy. Over here, let's move up to the frame. Obviously, you can see here, and the air box. And why did I touch this and say the air box? Yes, this is the air box. The fuel is housed in the frame. On the other side, and there's a electric fuel pump that stuffs up into the frame here. That's one thing. Fuel is carried down low, the exhaust, all this, and because it's the Harley-Davidson, it's a more or less a dry sump. Where's the oil tank? Oil tank's in the swing arm. Actually, most of it's on the other side, but it's in the swing arm. So there's oil lines attaching to the swing arm that go under and then come up here to your oil pumps here and everything. That's pretty much it for this side. I do have the factory soft bags. There is a soft one that clips over the seat too, and actually they're expanding. I don't have them expanded now, but they come out a little bit more. You can store quite a bit. I mean, it's not a touring bike, but if you wanted to do a short day trip or something, not too bad. The seat is reasonably comfortable for what it is. This is the low seat. They had an option. I'm kind of short, so, but it's good for a few hundred miles before you really start feeling it. But like I said, this is not a touring bike. But I have done a little bit of it in the past. I have other bikes for doing that, and you see it back there actually. But anyway, up here, air box, huge, kind of a automotive style in a way. Air filter. It's on the other side. There's a kind of a inlet kind of scoop for the air box, but also to direct air in across the fins, because you probably think there's a cooling. I don't remember having trouble with this overheating. There's also a electric fan that does kick in that pulls some air across the motor. Kind of an interesting design choice. It blows right on the rear shock, heating up the shock oil. That's maybe something I don't like about it, but this isn't a performance, spirited riding, but like I said, I've adjusted the shock for my weight and a little bit of damping and just left it alone, because it's just a commuter bike. We're not track riding here. But yeah, this has been a very good old bike. I think I got like 50,000 miles or something on it, and those are almost all commuting miles. I know that's not a lot for a bike. It's kind of in the middle, but considering those are mostly commuter miles, and I put all the long haul miles on other bikes, I spread my mileage around. Let's put it that way. Keeps the miles off my cars too. But anyway, I love this bike. Performs well. Inverted front forks, fully adjustable, more adjustment than I need. These mag wheels, like I said, no spokes to tighten or loosen over time. Good braking. A nice, lumpy, reliable engine. Makes about 100 horsepower, but a lot of low-end torque. You can just roll on and go. It's not the fastest thing in the world, and it wasn't designed to be. Buells are kind of, you love them or you hate them, or you get them or you don't. But if you get it, it's kind of the perfect commuter, short trip, blast up the mountains kind of bike. Just turn them on and go. There's very little hydraulic lifters, no valve adjustments. It always starts. Plenty of power for just all around, and the transmission ratio, same thing. It's geared for the speeds you're mostly riding. Good roll on to get passing power. And it's lightweight and nimble to get in and out of traffic if you're in the city, or like I said, blasting up some canyon roads, where you're doing like 20 mile an hour around the curves or less, and then you want to blast down the corner. This will do it. These bikes and Buells were known for their handling characteristics at the time. The frame, I guess going back to this frame, the engine hangs in here, and it's kind of sort of a stressed member, but most of the suspension stress is going through this backbone, and the engine is just kind of hanging in here to a certain extent. I mean, it sort of provides a little bit of structure, but it is rubber mounted, so this doesn't sit there and vibrate the shit out of your hands. It's at stoplights like typical Harley Davidsons. And Harley just had a stake in this company. They didn't really manufacture these. I mean, yes, they manufactured some of the parts centered around the engine, and then they hopped it up. In my opinion, and this is just an opinion, and I'm not a Harley hater, because I've owned them, and I've worked on them, and they're great bikes. Nothing wrong with them. They are reliable these days. That whole oil leaker joke, that's from the AMF years, so people need to get over that. But this is what, in my opinion, what the Sportster should have evolved into throughout the 80s into the 90s. But Harley just, that style was what they were going for. Because this is kind of, at the time, this is kind of like a Sportster engine that's just hopped up. This is that 60 or 70 horse Sportster engine hopped up to make 100, So, and then in a package that can stop really well and handle really well. And it's a compromise though, too. So, I hope you like this video. I kind of rambled on a lot, and I knew I would do that because there's not much I need to do. Basically, just turn it on and start it up, and I'm going to show you that right now.